Hello, this is John Meyer, and this will be my Module 4 assignment. First thing to consider when making this video is discussing the rationale and learning theories behind selecting the tools I used. The brutal truth is I had none at the time. I was teaching a unit that was pre-planned. I was given the material, given the teacher material, and trying to go through this in my first year and just finding that things were not going well. My student engagement was terrible. And so I started looking for alternative ways to present material while still kind of staying within what I'm supposed to do for the district without changing too much. And what you can see on the screen now is an alcohol quiz for one of our health units, which was in the classroom. And this is what students get, and they're supposed to fill this out and go through it. And as you can see, it's not exactly riveting. It's very simple, true-false stuff. It's kind of to test their knowledge, I guess, but their engagement level is low at best. And then they're also doing this in a packet they have, and for me to go through every packet every day to check for their engagement or participation is very time consuming, so I typically don't do that until the very end of the unit. So I came up with some other approaches. I found similar material on Kahoot, and then I added questions of my own. As you can see, I'm kind of scrolling down. Some of the same questions we had and then some extras. And what I was able to do while we went through this as a group, doing it in quiz format with some competition, found that I had a lot more participation and engagement. But this kind of gave me some good prompts to elaborate on some of these questions and share some more information. And it just seemed to go over much better than the usual death by PowerPoint approach that came with all the material provided by the district. So this theory would fall under instructor-centered questioning. However, I didn't pick that and then pursue this. I went to Kahoot because I used it for some of these transition to teaching classes and was just looking for a different way to do this to try to improve engagement, and this did work, so I will plan on going back to that in the future. The huge reason I like doing this sort of stuff is it's easier for me to track their engagement and their participation. This is one of my classes. It's the last class of the day, which are usually a little more rowdy, and some of the students kind of check out. They do their tougher stuff early in the day, then they're sent to me in physical education and health the last part of the day. But I can see their engagement. I can see how many answers they got correct, and then I can see how many answers they completely skipped, like here. Or I can go down, and this particular student did absolutely nothing most days, just sat and stared at his phone typically, made no effort to participate in class or fill out any material. And as you can see here, he didn't get a lot of the answers right, but he at least answered most of the questions, 19 out of 20. And this reporting tool allows me to kind of get a snapshot of my class, who participated, who didn't, and kind of grade accordingly, because most of my days are graded on participation. My current use of technology is this, and then I've expanded to Nearpod. Our school signed us up for Nearpod access, so I've started taking advantage of it, and I do alternative assignments when students miss class, when we're doing active units like swimming or floor hockey. This was an alternative assignment I created for the swimming unit for students who missed class and had a legitimate reason and they wanted to make up points. So this was a way for them to go in and do some swimming related content, maybe even learn something, and then recover their points. This again gives me reporting, just like the Kahoot did. I can basically, these questions I took from the CSR learning log and put them into a Nearpod so that I can get an easy visual aid. And in the background here you can see the article I linked rather than printing it off. They can access this from anywhere. I just send them a link. Here's the video showing all the different cues. I can go through here and stop it at certain points and ask questions. So this is a more interactive way for me to present some alternative assignments instead of just having them read and write, which has kind of been the usual approach. Nearpod also allows me to access reports. Shows me what students completed, how many questions they got correct. This one was all open-ended, but I've used some others that are more black and white with right and wrong answers. And this kind of gives me a snapshot of their engagement, even on their alternative assignments. My process of teaching through the use of this technology is pretty simple. Right now I'm using it kind of on the side because we do 9-week planning. We have three-week units every 9 weeks, and only one of those is in the classroom. The other 6 weeks, I'm in a gym, in a pool, I'm somewhere else. I'm doing active things where a lot of these resources don't really fit in. So it's kind of limited use at this point. I plan on using this more in the future. I just finished another health unit that I was not a huge fan of. Wasn't the greatest experience teaching, and I don't know how much the students got out of it, unfortunately. I'm teaching material, again, that's provided by the district, and going through it and trying to find the relevant stuff while trimming off some things that aren't as important, because it seems like I'm always in a time crunch. The units are designed for 15 class periods that are about 45 minutes, and I ended up getting 5 or 6 class periods that were about 60 to 70 minutes. So I have to cram material in and unfortunately trim some of the excess, as you might call it. At this point, I've done 3 out of the 4 health units. I'll have 1 more in the last quarter of the year, and that'll be my first time teaching that unit and going through the material. And regardless of what I do going into the unit, planning, looking at it, things just play out a lot differently than I anticipate, so I'm having to adjust. And I'm learning a lot through my first year, and I plan to use more technology next year when I go through the same units and the same information. The fill in the blank packets that are provided and the PowerPoints just aren't really hitting home, so I'm going to transfer the same material, so I don't change it, but I'm going to transfer some stuff to these other formats using Kahoot and Nearpod, and there's some quizzing type websites that other teachers have used. So I want to incorporate more technology. It seems to be more interactive with the students. They seem to be engaged better. They all love being on their technology, so you might as well kind of roll with it and let them use that. I showed you on my reporting for my first Kahoot on alcohol the engagement, and this like I said, this was a rougher class, and I actually felt like I had way more engagement in doing this because the kids wanted to compete. So they were answering questions and had to kind of listen to some of the extra information I added before we moved on to the next questions. And, I highlighted Elijah here. This seems to be the most I've seen him do most of the year. And that includes, first semester, this semester. He was just a tough cookie to crack. And you could see doing a little Quizlet or a quizzing type game, I got him involved a little bit. He at least clicked buttons and answered questions, and he even knew some of the content, and hopefully he learned something from it. So again, kind of to summarize, I haven't used this a lot. I would like to use it more in the future. The only changes I would make is to actually use it more in the future and to create some more quizzes or testing or interactive things using Kahoot and Nearpod and anything else I stumble across in the future. The reality for me is I've been exposed to a lot of new things this year as a first-year teacher going through this transition to teaching program. And sometimes it's information overload, so I do best if I kind of narrow it down and focus on just a couple of things. And for now, it seems to be these 2 programs, I guess you'll call them. So as I get more comfortable in the future, I will definitely expand my toolbox. But for the time being, I think I'll stick with these and just create more content using them to hopefully get more student engagement, more retention of the material, and just try to make the classes more meaningful and make the most of my time with them.